In problem 7, you have a company Libra Limited who is coming up with an issue of 20,000 equity shares which are issued at rupees 10 at par. Again, we have the face value rupees 10, but the share issue is at 10 itself. Okay. Total 20 lakh equity shares. Out of this, 5 lakh shares are issued to the promoters, balance offered to the public. This again information is very important. Anything that is issued to promoters is not to be included in the liability of the underwriters. Is that fine? So 5 lakh equity shares to be issued to the promoters. So let's see how much are to be actually issued to the public then in that case. So this is your solution 6 working notes. First one, shares offered to public. Very important to get this figure because you can't just give the whole liability to the underwriters. So 20 lakh shares were issued. Shares issued, total 20 lakh. Of this minus reserved for promoters. These many were given to the promoters, that is 5 lakh, which means only the balance 15 lakh were offered to the public. Is it clear? And when we calculate the gross liability of our underwriters, this amount has to be taken into consideration, and on this we are supposed to apply the gross liability ratio. Is this clear? So balance was offered to the public and that balance was underwritten by 3 underwriters, Anand, Vijay and Ashok, equally. This word here, this one word is very important. So in other cases, in different problems, we have seen either ratios were given directly, either percentages were given directly, or you were given amounts, and based on the amounts you were supposed to calculate ratios, right? But here they are saying that the gross liability is taken equally by each of them, which means the ratio is 1:1:1. Is this understood? Equally means 1:1 for each one. Okay. Then there was also firm underwriting, and firm underwriting also they took equally 50,000 shares each. We'll come to that later. Subscriptions totaled 12,97,000 shares including marked applications. Okay, which means the company received 12,97,000 shares, and in those shares there were also marked applications which were these many. Okay, first of all let's take gross liability. Now if they are saying that it is 1:1:1, what do we have to do? For Anand, Vijay, Ashok, okay, just divide equally. Take this 15 lakh and do a divide by 3, right? So basically each one gets 5 lakh shares. Am I right? Yes. So all are 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. Followed? So each one gets 5 lakh. Gets in the sense each one agrees to take shares 5 lakh. Okay. The number of shares is 5 lakh. Done. Now next we have to deduct the marked applications. Marked applications are never to be calculated. They are just directly given to you in the problem. So including marked applications were 4,25,000, 4,50,000, then 3,50,000. Done. So after minusing, let's see the balance. Later on we will go to unmarked calculation. 75,000, 50,000, 1,50,000. Is this clear? Right? So this is the balance so far. This is the liability so far. Let's now calculate our unmarked applications. For that, we require first of all total applications. So second working note, unmarked applications. First take total applications. Okay, these are applications received from public. Always remember, they don't include firm underwriting. Okay, applications that are received from public. This amount is 12,97,000 shares, isn't it? Subscriptions means applications received. So these many shares were applied for or subscribed for, 12,97,000. Out of this, these many were marked, right? 425, 450 and 350. So minus that, take it out from the total. Let's do the sorting. Marked applications. How much did we say? 425, 450. Plus 4,50,000 plus 3,50,000. Correct? Yes. So that gives you a total of 12,25,000. Fine? Balance being 72,000. Now, this is unmarked, no doubt, but these are unmarked applications received from public. We have received this from the public. Okay. Now we have to decide whether or not to add the firm underwriting to this amount or individual benefit is given or not. For that, look at the problem. Somewhere here in the bracket, an additional information is given to you saying that benefit of firm underwriting was not given. Benefit was not given. So when benefit is not given, take the firm underwriting and add it here. Okay, firm underwriting shares. How much were they? 50,000 each. Correct? So that gives you total. If it is 50,000 each, that means it is 50,000 into 3 underwriters. You have 1,50,000. Just add this up. Okay. So after adding the actual total unmarked applications become these many. Total unmarked applications. And what are we going to do with these? Distribute in gross liability ratio of 1:1:1. So a simple divided by 3, 2,22,000 divided by 3 and you get 74,000 each. If you want the calculations. Okay, 74,000, isn't it? So unmarked applications are 74 and 74,000. Is that clear? So after deducting unmarked, what is our liability? First one, we get 1,000. Second fellow, 24,000. But a negative because unmarked applications are greater, isn't it? Okay, so 50 minus 74, this person has sold more applications, so 24,000 is a negative. He has a surplus, basically that is what it means. And finally 76,000. Okay, so now who has a surplus? Vijay has a surplus, so we need to allocate it among the others. Allocation of Vijay's surplus among Anand and Ashok in gross liability ratio of, again, 1:1, right? Only 2 are remaining, so it is 1:1. Fine. So 24,000, give it to these people, give the other two. 1:1 meaning 12,000 each, isn't it? This guy gets 12,000. This needs to be minused. Okay. Anyway, it's understood because we've already written less over there. This will get nullified, and here also minus 12,000. Again, get the balances. Once again, what you get is a negative. 1,000 minus 12,000 again becomes a negative. Have you seen what has happened? So in this problem, we are getting a negative twice, which means the liability, the surplus, what we are getting is for two people. In the first step, we got the liability for one person. Now in the second step, we are getting the liability again for the next person. So 76 minus 12,000 again is 64,000. This fellow is still positive, he still has a liability. So a new additional step comes into picture here. Now Anand also has a liability, a surplus, a negative figure 11,000, right? It cannot be kept the same way. Whatever surplus is there, it has to be allocated to the remaining underwriter. Now Vijay has already got, right? His is already nil. So you can't minus it from his, right? He already has a surplus. But what is remaining has to be given to the other underwriter, the remaining underwriter basically, fine? So surplus of Anand allocated to Ashok. Correct? What we did is only one person had a surplus and only one person was remaining with a liability. So take the entire surplus and give it to the next person. Is this clear? Right? So now calculate after this again how much is the remaining liability. Now two people have a nil liability, absolutely nothing, and only one person has a liability of 53,000, right? So this is technically now the net liability as per agreement. This is again surplus, right? Surplus and liability. So firm underwriting, add them back, 50,000 shares each of firm underwriting. So 50,000, 50,000 and 50,000. Is that fine? So after adding, what we get is the total liability 50, 50, and only in the last case it is 1,03,000, the total liability. Is this clear? So just one different thing about this problem is, as compared to the previous one, is that you got the surplus twice. Doesn't matter, but till the time that everybody's, all the surplus is distributed and done, it's over, you have to keep on allocating it. So first one person got a surplus, we allocated it. Again another person got a surplus, we allocated it to the remaining underwriter, and finally only one person had liability. Is this clear? So this is our statement showing liability of underwriters for problem number 7.